Mr Speaker.
I call
Mr.
the
Chair.
honourable member Kelvin Davis.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Mr Chair, the House should be honoured to be listening to a descendant of the original freedom camper in New Zealand. Some 30-odd generations ago, my tūpuna Kupea turned up, and he was the first person, according to legend, to set foot in Aotearoa, and he was the original freedom camper. Not only when he set up shop his first campsite, he didn't actually form a permanent dwelling. He actually circumnavigated all of the North Island, naming places on the way, and therefore I claim him as the original freedom camper in Aotearoa. And here is his direct descendant standing up, who follows on in his legacy indeed, because every Christmas my family and I also participate in freedom camping. According to clause 5 here, and the meaning of freedom camping means to camp other than at a camping ground, because we don't actually camp at a camping ground, we camp on private property, so this is a slightly different circumstance, but it is within 200 metres of motor vehicle accessible area, and it's not near a great walking track. The only walking track at our camp is the great walk from the sleeping tent over to the food tent and back again. That's the great walk that I participate in when I'm freedom camping. Many times in the one day. But Mr Chair, we are concerned about the potential for a blanket ban, and I just want to take up the point that our colleague Phil Twyford made as to what constitutes a blanket ban. Was it 99%? Is it 98%? Is it 70%? Because there can be bans on huge swathes of local authority areas and still not be called or defined, according to this bill, as a blanket ban, but in effect it is a blanket ban, and that's under 2A in Part 1 here, Mr Chair. Mr Chair, the problem with this bill is that it actually doesn't address the problem. The problem isn't the fact that people pull up in their camper vans or pitch a tent. It's actually the disposal of waste or effluent, call it what you may. That's the problem, and that's the issue that should be addressed, not the fact that people might pull up overnight. See, we've had the former Minister of Tourism speaking, and he would know the term FIT in the tourism trade as a free and independent traveller, and we want to attract more free and independent travellers to New Zealand, because free and independent travellers generally tend to be older people who like to not have any set schedule. They don't like to get on a bus and be taken from city A to city B to city C. They like to make up their plans as they go along the way, and they like to pull over here and there and just camp where they can and when they can. That's what it means to be a free and an independent traveller. Now, these FITs tend to be more wealthy, so they bring more money, they tend to spend more money, and we should be encouraging these people to come and have a great time, enjoy themselves, go where they want, when they want, but respect the places they stay at, just like my ancestor Kupea would have done back in his time. And we need to be encouraging these people to stay and then go home and tell their friends and their families what a great time they had in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and encourage those people to also come over here and participate in the freedom camping experience. They tend to stay longer, they tend to spend more. Mr Chair, we need to be encouraging these tourists, not as the Honourable Steve Chadwick says, pot them here, there and everywhere and get them as they're going out and say, there you go, $200 fine because you were camping somewhere where a local authority said you shouldn't. Mr Chair, there's the issue about not having enough places for freedom campers to stay at. And I'm talking about the tourists here. I'm not talking necessarily about the New Zealanders who want to go pig hunting or whatever, or surfing and end up just camping off the road before they go for their big adventure. But for the tourists who are driving around, when the camping grounds are full, is normally in the summer period, or when we have something such as the Rugby World Cup, and there's going to be a lot of freedom campers at that stage. And this is where the decision by this government to do away with the sanitary work subsidy scheme that Honourable Marion